Captain's revving up the engines. See the water churning underneath us here. Waiting for this gentleman to get on board. We'll be underway. We got a tugboat going by us here. There's going to be a lot of people in all these shots. Sorry about that. Jack Holland tugboat. You'd be surprised how many horsepowers those rigs have. They can move a mighty vessel with very low horsepower. Just a matter of how much water their propellers move. They have most of them have a double spine propeller with 2 propellers each. They're designed to either push or pull. I got pulled by a tugboat from the middle of the Pacific into Manila Harbor one time. That was one slow trip. Our engine was down on a boat. I was on a container boat, and our bearing in the motor went, and the engine stopped, which stopped our electricity. And we sat for 2 days with the engine gone, and the tug finally got out to us, hooked up, and put an umbilical cord to us that provided us with power. And then we had power again for the 3-day pull into Naval Harbor. It was supposed to be a 1-day cruise. Had some good food on that boat, some nice people. That looks like a fun way to go. I wonder if they rented those. He's got a ticket in his hand. You realize that the Bible doesn't say anything about punctuality, but it does talk about patience. And our society today is anything but punctual. We follow the rules religiously about the masks, but as for the time of the departure, that's kind of flexible. Getting ready to cast off the stern line. This takes a little bit of skill. There you go. We still got the battle line attached.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard Shipyard and Rover. My name is Chad Cummings. It's my pleasure to be the captain and narrator for your cruise today. While the crew and I are preparing to get the better command, I'd like to take this time to point out safety equipment laying on our board. There are some more than enough life jackets for everyone. Adult-sized life jackets are located in the upper deck of the boat in 2 large boxes. Those boxes can be found just to the left of the upper pilot house. The other box is located towards the rear end of the upper deck, back by the American flag. Adult-sized life jackets are also
So far, the information is given us completely correct. It said that the mask mandate is a federal mandate. That's not true. In Kansas, it's illegal to coerce anybody to dress according to their beliefs. It's a state mandate. So take everything you said there with a grain of salt.
Driving crews, feel free to move around the boat. Please watch your step and watch your head when traveling between the ways. Parents, please keep close eye on your children.
Stern line still is engaged.
Please not stand on either the seats,
Straining against it.
or climb up onto the handrails. We will need to fall off the boat if you need that shot. Smoking or vaping is not allowed on board the boat. Your convenience registrators and ship's door are located inside the cabin. Ship's door offers a variety of snacks and beverages, including adult beverages, minimum beers and things.
I'm going to be talking right over this guy because I can't distinguish one word he's saying. It just sounds like hogwash to me.
There's a federal mask mandate requiring everyone ages 2.
He said again, a federal mandate. That's not true. It's a state mandate.
Inside the cabin or ships seated outside.
He's lying. There's no state, no federal mandate. Federal government can't make such laws. It's a state mandate. It's a state of Virginia. Get your facts straight. I wore a mask to get on the boat, and I threw my pocket. Because I wear the mask or not, the people around me are all going to die of the disease or not, whichever way the Lord wills. And now we're waiting on what?
We're almost ready to go. You'll see our friend Lucy, and she's landing on the dock next to us. She's a doctor that's been coming to see us here for about 5 years now. I'm sure we have and she's real neat on stuff. Yeah, sorry, Lucy, we gotta go.
That bow line intact, we're not going over. We're boat off. We are moving. Which loosens the bow line. We cast it off, so we're cast off. Got sidewinders down here. Help with the navigation. You can also see that the rudder's all the way to port. That propeller back there just goes one direction, but there's a rudder behind the propeller. This is the port side over here. The other side's the starboard side. Sidewinders are pushing us off to the side. They're in a tube, and the sidewinders are there. Now they've ceased. And, I say they've ceased. They haven't.
Across the river onto our right-hand side, this is the city of Portsmouth. Looking on the Portsmouth waterfront, off to our right, and back behind us to our right just a little bit. It's a point of land with a lot of trees. Point of land with the trees off to our right is called Hospital Point. Among the trees, you'll see a white building with a green roof that is our nation's oldest naval hospital, built there back in 1827. To the left of that building, you'll see some of the additions made to the facility, newest of the brick buildings, which also have a green roof, all part of a $330 million addition to the facility, which made it the largest military medical installation in the world. It's now named the Naval Regional Medical Facility of Portsmouth, Virginia. Also across the river to our right, small body of water. It's called Crawford Bay. The bay serves as a nice anchoring ground for many local boats, as well as for those transiting the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway. I'll go into more detail about the Intercoastal Waterway in just a few minutes. Coming up on our right, along the Portsmouth waterfront, large marinas called Tidewater Yacht, a full-service marina offering 300 boat slips. If you look inshore to our right, past the marina, you'll see some church steeples sticking into the air. These churches are located in a section of Portsmouth known as Old Town. Many of these structures over there in Old Town date back to the mid-1700s.
So you must be looking over here.
A little bit of information about the boat you're cruising on today. The Victory Rover was built back in 1873 in Crown Point, Louisiana. Originally used as an oil rig crew and supply boat, servicing oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico. After several years of work in the oilfield industry, the boat was retired and turned into a passenger ferry. Used as a ferry for a while, it turned into the tour boat Victory Rover, as you'll see it today. The Victory Rover is 95 feet long, 21 feet wide, all aluminum construction, powered by three 1271 Detroit diesel engines and V12s with 450 horsepower apiece. We have a top speed of about 16 knots and a license to carry up to 150
that truck might have about the same horsepower as a VW. They're very low horsepower, but they move a lot of water with those double fin blades on their propellers. We're getting ready to go to war over here.
Look at to our right here at the Portsmouth waterfront. Tall brown building is called Harbor Tower. 25-story apartment building with 181 luxury apartments. And it happens to be the second tallest building in the downtown area. Also in the view ahead of us to our right, the Renaissance Hotel. The Renaissance is a $38 million four-star hotel and convention complex, offering 249 guest rooms, all of which have a waterfront view. Now the water up ahead of us, that is the southern branch of Elizabeth River, which is part of the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway System, which heads south from here. That means we can continue in the direction up ahead of us and go all the way to Miami, Florida, without ever entering into the Atlantic Ocean. It's done through a series of rivers, bays, sounds, and canals. The distance from here to Miami is 1,094 miles. Looking at the southern branch ahead of us, we see a lot of cranes off in the distance. Many of these cranes are located at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard. The Norfolk Naval Shipyard is our nation's oldest shipyard, started back before the Revolutionary War. They don't build any new ships out of that shipyard anymore. They only do repair work up there now.
Here's your budget motel, the Renaissance.
There are a couple of private shipyards here in the Inner Harbor that'll point out the repair work to commercial ships and government ships. One of the shipyards located directly ahead of us and will soon be to our right as we're turning. The name of the shipyard is BAE Systems. At the center of the yard ahead of us to our right, we see a large great naval ships inside of a large plank floating drydock. The drydock ahead of us to our right is called the Titan. The function of a floating drydock like the Titan is to lift a ship up out of the water so bottom side repairs can be made to a ship. To explain how the floating drydock works, first they flood tanks located within the walls and floors of the drydock. They flood the tanks with river water, which allows the drydock to then sink down into the river. With the drydock mostly submerged, tugboats will carefully assist the ship by floating it over top of the drydock. Once the ship's carefully placed over top of the drydock, they slowly pump the water back out of the tanks, which then makes the drydock become buoyant. It will slowly rise to the surface and lift the ship completely out of the water. The ship inside the drydock over to our right is LHD number 1, that is the Uss Wasp. Very first of the Wasp-class landing helicopter docking ships constructed, otherwise known as an LHD. They're the largest class of amphibious assault ship in the United States Navy. I'll go into more detail about one of her sister ships I believe I have a better view of later at the naval base.
It's quite a lifting device they got, huh?
As we continue our turn, ahead of us, coming up on our right, is another privately owned shipyard. This is a General Dynamics yard, one of two that we'll see on the tour. They perform primarily government contract work. You'll see their floating drydock coming up on our right now, black in color. It's named Speedy. The drydock Speedy works the exact same way as the drydock Titan that I pointed out just a minute ago. We will see a ship in the drydock Speedy. That's hull number 21, which is the USS New York. The New York is a San Antonio class LPD, that stands for Landing Platform Dock. You know, the newest class of amphibious assault ship that we'll see on our tour. She's 684 feet long, 105 feet wide, has a crew of 361 and the ability of carrying up to 800 Marines. Off to our left-hand side, you'll see a blue and white boat with a black paddle wheel that just departed from the Portsmouth waterfront. That's one of the Elizabeth River ferries. Ferry boats used to shuttle pedestrians between the two cities of Norfolk and Portsmouth.
There you go, stern wheeler, straight off to Mississippi. That might be a more economical way to see just exactly what we're seeing here. You won't have the guy blaring over the loudspeaker. You can see the stern wheeler is being powered by the water rather than propelling the boat to the water. It's not moving as fast as what the water is. The water is actually turning that stern wheel, which is the opposite in the case of an actual stern wheel powered boat.
I'm going to bring detail about several of her sister ships. See you later today at the naval base.
stern
Just
wheelers
past
were
number 74.
steam powered. Very dangerous to have a steam engine. Well, I say very dangerous because several of them, for one reason or another, blew up. Had massive fires or
There are several barges around the shipyard to our right. One of the barges that you'll see coming up on our right is a large gray boxy structure.
they were used extensively along
That is a barracks barge.
Mississippi, the Missouri, and the Ohio River.
Ships or subs following a shipyard underground repair.
They built them there as well.
Coming into view past the shipyard over to our right is the eastern branch of the Elizabeth River. Spanning across the eastern branch is the Berkeley Bridge, which is part of Interstate 264. It connects to the downtown tunnel, which passes below the southern branch, which is back behind us now. Ahead of us, the downtown Norfolk waterfront. Ahead of us now to our right, tall brown building is Dominion Tower, standing at 26 stories. It's the tallest building in the downtown area. To the left of Dominion Tower, you'll see the waterside Sheraton, which offers 445 guest rooms. To the left of the Sheraton, you'll see a two-story building with a gray roof that is the Waterside District, a newly renovated 30,000 square foot facility that features a variety of unique food and beverage choices, as well as a stage for live entertainment. Along the waterfront to our right, the Waterside Municipal Marina. It's a popular stopping place for many local boats, as well as for those transiting the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway. Docked on the outside of the marina, you'll see a green and white hulled sailing vessel. It's named the American Rover. She's a 135-foot topsail schooner available for both private charter and walk-on sailing trips. The American Rover is also our fleet mate.
Wind powered vessel.
Back to this look to our right, big black and white boat is the Spirit of Norfolk. She's a 187-foot miniature cruise ship. It offers 2-hour lunch and dinner cruises. And just ahead of us to our right, a much smaller black and white boat that was named the Virginia Elite. Both vessels are operated by City Cruises. Large grassy area coming up on our right is Town Point Park. The park is used extensively throughout the warmer months of the year. They host a variety of festivals and special events. Several concerts are also performed here at the park, some of which are free and open to the public.
As long as you wear a mask. Approaching the area we took off from. I don't know if that's the end of this or what.
Head of us to our right, past the trees at Town Point Park. Large gray structure is Nauticus, the National Maritime Center, a $52 million maritime museum that features a variety of exhibits, such as interactive videos, hands-on simulations, and traveling exhibits on loan from both museums. Nauticus is also home to the Hampton Roads Naval Museum, as well as the Battleship Wisconsin. You'll see the battleship ahead of us in just a minute. But first, coming up on our right next to Nauticus, you'll see the Half Moon Cruise and Celebration Center, cruise ship terminal and convention center in one, an 80,000 square foot multi-purpose facility constructed at a cost of $36 million. The pier coming up on our right is where the cruise ships dock. Most of the cruises that run out of Norfolk are cruises to Bermuda, the Bahamas, and the Caribbean.
Yeah, look at this sign. Welcome to... Welcome.
Now coming into view ahead of us to our right, past the cruise ship terminal, you'll see the Battleship Wisconsin, bearing the hull number 64. The Wisconsin is an Iowa-class battleship, last of the 4 that were constructed. Wisconsin was commissioned April 16, 1944, her first service being World War II. The Wisconsin is a rather large ship, 887.5 feet long, weighs in at 45,000 gross tons, and originally carried a crew of 2,900 sailors on board. If you look on the rear deck of the Wisconsin, you'll see some rather large guns. Those are 16-inch guns, the largest guns ever deployed on a United States naval warship. There's a total of 9 of them on board the Wisconsin. The guns are situated 3 to a turret. 1 turret on the rear of the ship. The other 2 turrets are located up forward. The barrels on those guns are the approximate length of a tractor-trailer rig, which is about 60 feet long. They're capable of firing a 2,700-pound projectile up to 23 nautical miles. Also on board the Wisconsin are 12 smaller 5-inch guns, 6 of them located on either side of the superstructure of the ship. If you'd like to go aboard the Wisconsin for a tour, visitation on the ship is included with the admission to Nauticus, the National Maritime Center. Also over to our right, docked on the inside of the pier, you'll see a 2-masted sailing vessel with a black hull. That is the schooner Virginia. For a short period of time, she served as the tall sail ambassador ship for the state of Virginia. It was modeled after a 1920s Virginia pilot schooner. She's 122 feet in length. It was constructed in Norfolk about 16 years ago. It's now part of the sailing program at Nauticus.
It would be fun to work on making a boat like that. That would be fun. Good shot of the Wisconsin there. Can lob shells 23 miles, he said. Something. Cranes here, which mean intermodal traffic. I'm hoping we get to see some of the intermodal stuff. Intermodal is the trade name for the containers you see on trains, on trucks, and also they travel by ship.
Off our right, complex of white buildings with tram, that's Naval, those stands for the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, and that facility uses information gathered from numerous ships to make charts. Charts used throughout the maritime industry like maps, these are navigational channels, water depths, and many different hazards, such
rather hard
as
to
sunken
see my
ships.
viewfinder, but
To the left of Noah's, the Brambleton Avenue Bridge, and beyond that bridge, an older section of Norfolk known as Ghent. Many of the homes over there in Ghent date back to the late 1800s.
not sure what he set up for with that derrick on the back. Some kind of retriever? Not sure. I'd like to live there, huh?
Next waterfront structure to our right is the pier condominiums. Originally built back in the 1920s. Back then the building was used as a storage warehouse. As you can see, the building's been renovated and turned into nice waterfront condos.
I think the rent's more than $200 a month for those. There's 2 guys building another one right there. Looks like they'll be done this week. All they gotta do is throw up the walls and the roof and they'll be done. Military. I just see a container ship upriver there. You see that? That blue one? So he can haul 12 passengers, and it's up to the captain to determine who goes and who don't. And also,
Next property command, remember that used to be a small private shipyard.
purser on those boats takes their money. And you actually pay to get on board.
That's a very nice retirement condominium.
Great way to travel around, especially in the Pacific. I never did anywhere but the
Cost
Pacific.
$90 million. If was so successful at that facility.
Every port you come into has piles like this of containers ready to go.
$600 million addition to Harbor's Edge.
Takes about 2 days to completely empty a container boat. They work 24 hours a day on it with several derricks going. And they'll take all the containers off that go to that port and put on new ones that go to someplace further down the route. I say the route is as it sails, he's got containers on that go in a certain place, but you can change his route. You can change where he's going to. Change his port of call. The captain can. And that was a marvel to me that he'd have so much freight on board and decide not to go to this port or that port.
Coming up on our right,
That's just the way it
looking
is.
white building. It's called the Waterfield Building. It serves as a headquarters for the United States Army Corps of Engineers. One of the many things the Corps of Engineers is responsible for is to maintain our harbors and rivers, as well as the Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway. They help to remove debris that could pose a threat to safe navigation. Behind the Waterfield Building, you'll see some white brick walls and some black cannons on the lawn. It's all part of Old Fort Norfolk, which was in use in the War of 1812. The fort served as the city of Norfolk's secondary line of defense against the British invasion. Fortunately, during that conflict, the British never made it this far up the Elizabeth River. Therefore, the fort to our right never saw actual combat. Now back to our left-hand side. Directly to our left is another General Dynamic Shipyard. 3 ships at the yard of Maritime. 3 ships are like where they the Cape Race, the Cape Rise, and the Cape Ray. These 3 ships are in our government. We're operating for our government by Maritime, which is short for Maritime Administration. It's indicated to us by a single red, white, and blue bandings and the red smokestacks of the ships. The function of those ships is transporting supplies during a time of national emergency. Their ships are pretty much stored there year-round and are typically 10-day operational status. Given 10 days notice, they would be fully crewed.
Let's call a spade a spade. They're mothballs. Your intermodal yard, a small part of it. When they stack these up, they stack them according to destination. Some of these will be incoming, awaiting trucks. You see that truck running along the front there? That'll work a container on it and you send it to the customer. Or you might be headed to a rail yard. I don't see the tracks. Usually there's tracks somewhere in these places, and they just use the big forklifts to move them from stacks into the rail yard and put them on trains. It's quite operational on the train, intermodal yard. Here's the big derricks. Each one of those can handle one of these containers filled with books or old ingots or whatever. They can
It'll be a second.
lift 80,000 pounds without any problem at all.
This is called the Midtown Tunnel. You won't be able to see the tunnel passes through the Little River, but as a reference to this location, if you look at our land, you'll see 2 brick buildings. These are the ventilation houses of the Norfolk end of the tunnel. On the left-hand side, 2 more brick buildings. These are the ventilation houses that are Fort Smith end of the tunnel.
Can you see the
Just adding this to our right, Battleship Shipyard. It's called the National
right there? CMA show them. That's quite also the way they made intermodal ship. Loads of trucks loaded trailers ready to deliver. Surprising there's no boat in there.
On the north side of the pier, there's 2 ships. The closest to us at the end of the pier is the 95. That's USS James Williams. The James Williams is an Arleigh Burke class Aegis guided missile destroyer. And in front of her is number 60, the USS Normandy. The Normandy is a Ticonderoga class Aegis guided missile cruiser. We're going to great detail about ships just like both of these later today at the naval base.
These big boats.
And over to our
at least
left-hand
for the
side,
Bay
directly
Bridge
to our left,
tunnels
you'll see the
today.
Portsmouth Marine Terminal. PMT is set up as a containerized cargo handling facility. But we won't see any container ships in at the Portsmouth Marine Terminal today. Off in the distance to our left is the West Norfolk Bridge. It spans across the western branch
I'm going to
of
cut
the
here
River.
and start a new
Western
video.
branch
So
dead
God
end,
bless.
208 miles past.